Hello everyone, Darth here. I just finished watching the first two episodes of WandaVision, and I wanted to give my thoughts about it as well as what I see as the future of not just the Star Wars franchise, but all of the Disney Plus stuff in general. So, no spoilers, but for the most part, I thought it was extremely unique. The fact that they did not have to have tons of action sequences, they didn't have to have a bunch of flashy special effects. They were able to just have mostly storyline driven, mostly character based, mostly just focusing on the acting and the writing driven storyline without having to have all of this supplementary stuff that for the most part we are just inundated with in all of the films. For the most part, if a film is released these days, they are focusing on the action, they are focusing on the special effects, and this show is going completely the opposite way so far, and I'm absolutely loving it. So, without delving too much into what is actually going on in the story, let's look at the overarching idea of what's going on from a filmmaking perspective. Whether it's due to the economic crisis or not, it seems like they are focusing much less on films that are going to be released in theaters and are skewing much towards shorter shows that are going to premiere weekly, that are going to be exclusively on Disney Plus. Now, that's not just talking about the Disney-related stuff like Marvel or Star Wars or whatever, but that is definitely some of the most popular content that's been coming out into the theaters lately. Now, for one, having been someone who used to go to the theater pretty much every weekend, it's very depressing to think about the fact that we are possibly never again going to have that same experience, or at least never have it be as popular of an activity as it once was. But now we are going to be getting so much more content delivered so much more quickly than we are ever used to. I am very happy with the idea of getting a new story, even if it's just 30 minutes, of getting a new story every Friday. No matter what the franchise is, whether it's Marvel, whether it's Star Wars. For the most part, that is just not something that we are accustomed to outside of animated kid shows, which do premiere more frequently. And yes, we had that in the Clone Wars, but a lot of people did not prefer that animation. Not to say that they didn't like the style of the animation or anything, it's just a lot of people do not like animation purely because it's not quote-unquote adult. They just like, they prefer live action stuff. I do see some potential caveats to the situation as well, though. If they are developing content this quickly, and if they are producing it quickly enough that we are moving on from one thing to the next thing within a week, then they are going to have to worry much less about quality. When it comes to a film that comes out in theaters, generally it was, 3 years between each Star Wars film when they were going through a trilogy? So they really had to focus on getting the story right because there was going to be such a long gap of time in which people could lose interest. But now, if we have a bad episode of the Clone Wars, if we have a bad episode of WandaVision, we'll just kind of shrug our shoulders and say, okay, well, we'll have another one on Friday. I'm sure it'll be better. So it is possible that the quality is going to drop just because they are increasing the quantity so much. So what do you guys think of this new business model? I'm really interested to hear some other thoughts because generally I don't hear anyone else's opinion until the video goes out and people start commenting. So what are your thoughts about this new model where we are going to have content coming at us much more quickly, and it's going to be much more varied? Just looking at the list of things that Disney has announced they're going to do and the variety, we've got live action shows, we have animated shows, we have whatever this other one is that's a little bit more experimental, it kind of sounds like just a different style of animation coming out of Japan or something. It's just really interesting to see the variety that they're pushing towards, and it leaves me wondering if this is an intentional thing where they are trying to nail down what is their niche, specifically related to Star Wars, if they still haven't figured out what fans want, trying to put out variety of as big of a swath as possible and see what sticks, and then maybe they could go with that. Maybe if they can get enough hits over a wide enough spectrum, then they'll make enough money off of that merch across all these things instead of focusing on one thing. Like, I highly expect that they would have initially planned a Kylo Ren specific movie, a Rey specific movie, but the reaction to those films being so bad, those got canned, and now we're looking towards older stuff. So it'll be interesting to see if this older stuff fails, what is going to succeed, what is going to fail, and what will come next. If The Bad Batch is awesome, will they do another one? Will they focus on a different squad? Something else that could be really interesting is if they go back even further, if they go back and look at the age gap. I was talking about this with someone at work the other day, of the incredible age gap that there is between episode 1 and episode 2, which as far as I know is the biggest age gap. It's something like 10 years between episode 1 and episode 2, and Anakin grows up during that time and goes through a huge portion, like a majority of his Jedi training is during that gap that happens off screen. They could do a huge, very long-running animated series, very much like Clone Wars, or they could even do it live action and just, cast some younger, similar-looking people. But they have so much story potential in there too, and that could do incredibly well with the same format of Disney Plus, where we are having one new episode every Friday. So, like I said, I'm really interested to hear what everyone thinks. Is this as beneficial as I think it could be? Us getting new content so much more frequently. And as long as they've learned their lesson and know that they can't just put anyone in charge, that they can't just put out anything, as long as they know that they have to at least try to appeal to the user base, appeal to the fan base that has been following these stories and these characters for so long, as long as they keep those things in mind, all of these shows have a chance to succeed, even though it's being presented in a completely different medium than we are accustomed to. Anyways, I've got a lot more content in the works. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.